All right, so welcome to video number 9 in this series, looking at creating a application prototype for our digital solutions, combining interfaces, algorithms, and data. And this will probably be the final video in this series, as we're at the stage where we've now got a database that's connected. We just want to be able to access that data to use in conjunction with our interface and algorithms. So where that occurs in our solution is in our login screen. Once the user puts in their password, username and password, we want to check it against the user database. And at the moment, we've set up the list of users as a single item within a dictionary. So you've got username John, password ABC. So what we want to do is essentially be able to convert from this into that data from the database, which currently is John and ABC. I should just show that actually because this is a new video. So the data I'm referring to is within our database, the logins table, username John, password ABC. So the first thing we want to do is we actually need to create one more method in our database Python library. So far we've looked at creating the connection to the database, creating a table within that database, inserting values into that table. We want to look at getting the values back out. So we're going to define a method called getValues. Again, we're going to have connection in SQL, and as you can imagine, because of the way it's being framed, it is very similar to what we've done previously. So let's use the try, I should say. Try. So connection cursor. At that, let's then execute some SQL. And we're going to get with all the values, we're going to create a variable called rows, which is going to hold all of the data. And that's what we want to return to our main program, is that rows. Essentially what we're doing is just running the SQL to get the value out. We're going to have it in a variable called rows, and then we're just going to systematically transform those into that dictionary so that we create a list of dictionaries as per what we currently have within our program. With the try, we obviously want to do an accept. And again, we'll just return error. Similar to our other ones. No, sorry, not return. We could return, but I'm just going to print it myself. Alright, so we'll save that. And it's spitting an error. Oh, so return rows. There we go, that looks better. Yellow up there. Alright. So we're going to get the values from our database. So the first thing we can do here is we can run that. So db.get values. So for our connection, which for some reason it's not identifying, even though it's in the application. It's because it is in the application. So self.connection. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, within the object, the variable called connection that's being passed through. And our SQL, which we have yet to define, so we should probably do that. So yes, once we've set up our user, we can get our SQL. And let's use the triple quotation marks to do a multi-line statement. And we're just going to select username and password. And that's going to return us some rows. So let's call that rows. And then what we might do is we'll actually use another method that we haven't yet created. So we're going to build a dictionary from those rows. And we return the user, oh no, sorry, call that user list. Right, so what we're going to do once we have those rows is we're going to create a method to turn them into a user list. And then we will systematically go through this process of checking each row and logging in to see if we can get into our system. So I've probably done this a little back to front. I do apologize for that. That's okay. We're going to build our dictionary as ourselves as we go through. We also need the rows passed in too, so we can actually do something with it. The first thing we're going to do is set up our user list as an empty list. So we don't want anything in there yet. We're just going to start with a blank sheet every time. And then for each row in our rows, we're going to systematically work through one at a time. And what we'll do to start with is we'll just print the row so we can see what it looks like. Let's call it temporary list. So we're just going to create a list out of it to start with. So list our row out. And then we're going to create a dictionary. So user dictionary. Looks like this. So we will say our username. Colon and then empty string. We're just basically setting up a blank dictionary record. Then within that, so user dictionary, the username. So remember, when we're referring to elements of a dictionary, we use the key. This is why we use dictionaries as opposed to lists. So it's just going to match up to the first element of our list. So temporary list. And it's actually square brackets. That's my fault. So element 0 of our list. And the password equals temporary list. Element number 1. All right, so basically we're taking the row, converting it to a Python list so that we can communicate with it a little bit easier. And then we're going to populate an empty dictionary with those values. All right, and we can also print our user dictionary just so we can actually see what it looks like, so the difference from row to user dictionary. And then with our user lists, we want to append our user dictionary. And once we've done that, so this will do that for every row. Obviously, we've only got one row at the moment. We might add another row just to show it in action. We want to return our user list at the end. Right, so user list will become what we've got here. Let's save it. Again, I've got to do self dot dictionary. I keep forgetting that. All right, so we're going to pass in the rows variable that we've created. So we're going to use this build dictionary method that we've created to create our user list. And then user list. So let's save it and give it a run. No errors so far, which is nice. but it'll probably only start to occur when we press the button, because that's when all this action happens. Alright, so let's try see if it works. So John ABC, I should have tested it before we made that change, but okay, it has created us an error. No attribute called connect. What have I done? I know what I've done now. Oh no, that's right, DB. That way perhaps. Okay, I think I know what I've done wrong. So having a look at my other code, I've put this in the wrong position. So this connection should actually not be in the app, it should be in the main method. So if we want to make the connection a global variable so we can access it from all the screens, it actually needs to go when we run the main function. So we connect to the database, initialize it, and then we run the app, which builds the interface, and the connection will continue to go across all of that. So yeah, so it looks good now that I've got that. So I think that was where my error was. That was a mistake from the previous video. I might have to go back and redo that one. But let's give it a run. That one and now works. So we've got John, ABC, and no, it still does not like it. Has no attribute. It shouldn't be an attribute, it should be a method. Right, and why is that creating now? Seems we got a little bit stuck. Alright, what we might do, just to try and get around this, is rather than setting it up in its own little method, is we might actually import this into where we are here. So let's get it to return. So we're going to take all that, so we'll cut and paste action, and instead of calling it in a method, we're just going to do it like this. So when we get the values, we'll create an empty user list and we'll just run it all within this method. So we get rid of this function call, and that will solve that particular problem. We can always refactor later once we get everything up and running. Let's run it. No errors so far, that's nice. So John, oops, ABC, and there you go, we're in. So you can see that the row actually prints as a tuple. It's the same as what we added it before. So by creating it into a list, we can actually start to manipulate it and access it a bit more. Just to make life a bit easier. We then created the user dictionary, and then because we had that row within our user dictionary, that was the one it checked. So yeah, they've got us in. And we can just test, like if we change it to John's and ABCD, it still gives us that login error. All right, but what we might do is we'll add in another value just so we can show that it does repeat through that group. And so I will add, essentially this username in there. So let's close it. Let's go back to our DB Python file. I'm going to add in the initial value of John's and ABCD. Uncomment this so it will actually insert. And then let's run our main Python file. Alright, so it has run. If we have a look at our database, we can refresh, and now you'll see that there is that second value in there. Alright, so because we asked for it to initialize the database with that SQL statement, it has added it. So now the test is, will it actually be able to find this second data value? Alright, so again, we'll just test for if it doesn't work. And you can see as it goes through, John adds that dictionary, John's adds that, and then looks through the user list for our particular user, which it hasn't, so login has failed. But if we log in with John's and ABCD, because that has come up on the list, we've had success and we are now logged in. All right, so now we've successfully connected our database to our interface via our algorithms, which is ultimately what we want to achieve with our prototyping. All right, so obviously we've only completed that for one method. We've still got with our school planner the adding of the task. Again, that uses the same principles of inserting values. Once we have that, we want to show the value of the task. That would be getting the task value, similar to what we just did with getting the users. When we log out, we have spoken about previously getting rid of that login error message once we refresh the login page. That's clearing out these boxes as well. But as we've talked about, because we're only looking at a prototype, we've now successfully completed one of the main functionalities of our solution. All right, and as I sort of stated, that's going to finish our series, looking at how to create a prototype for digital solutions using Python with Kibbe and SQLite as the database. We will look at some more videos with some more advanced stuff. Like I said, the sort of deluxe database builder is definitely one that's in the pipeline. I think there's a couple of other suggestions as well, which I've written down somewhere, but can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, so if you can follow along with this, you've got all the sort of tools you need to go ahead and build whichever application you desire for your particular solution. All right, so thanks very much for watching, and catch you in the next